Yeah, thanks for having me, Colton.
Yeah, I actually was waiting to drink these because I had a headache, and I was going to talk about addiction
Okay.
because I'm addicted to caffeine.
Dude, this week actually is like the first week in like at least a year that I stopped drinking coffee like every morning, just because I feel like my body and my mind is starting to depend on it, and
Oh yeah,
I don't like it as much. Just because like if I don't have it, it's like later in the day I start feeling like a little like weird, like it's not like a headache, but it's just like something in the brain that just
I'm there
doesn't feel right.
already.
Yeah.
I'm there, bro. I get
Yeah.
irritable. I get tired. I get migraines. Like it's horrible.
Yeah.
Every morning, bro, I get one bang. I get two because it's like you get a bundle deal, and then I'll drink one. I might have another at the end of the day. That's like
Dang.
600 milligrams of
Yeah,
caffeine.
I know.
And then I go to the gym, and I think my pre-workout's like 300 milligrams a scoop.
Oh my god.
And like most days I have one. So like the average
Dude, you're
dose
running
per
on a
person is
lot.
100 milligrams, bro. And I'm taking like
Yeah,
too
yeah.
much.
One cup of coffee is about 100 milligrams, and then the recommended dose for caffeine at least
Hold
is
on,
like
hold on. I'm gonna fact check that. You know how many milligrams is in a cup of coffee, right? She works at Woods, bro.
it's 100.
It's about 100.
I heard it was 80. McDonald's said it was 80.
No, there's espresso and then there's drip coffee.
Yeah,
That's great.
espresso is probably gonna have a little bit less, and it's a smaller quantity, smaller volume.
So when you drink coffee, was it black?
I usually like to drink it black, just because then I don't have to like worry about like adding some sort of milk or a sweetener.
Yeah.
But if I do, I like stopped drinking dairy milk like I think back like 3 years ago.
Dude.
So I'll just use soy milk or like some sort of nut milk, and then like my girlfriend, she likes buying this caramel from Trader Joe's, or she will make it, and I'll put like a like tiny tablespoon of it, but it's not that often.
I can't imagine. Bro, chocolate milk and me, we love each other.
Chocolate
I
milk.
love chocolate milk, bro.
So every once in a while I'll drink chocolate milk as well, but it's not that often, and if I do, I have to like keep it a small volume, like maybe like a small cup, like yeah.
Dude, I'll drink it by the jug, bro.
Yeah.
Straight up, I'll finish a gallon in like 2-3 days. But I heard that you're born with an enzyme where you can process dairy better, and if you don't have it, that's where you become lactose intolerant, and it's a lot harder to break down. Yeah. I don't know if that's true or not, but my Asian roommate or Chinese roommate, he could not drink dairy ever, and when he had pizza, bro, his face would just break out. But some people can handle it better than others.
Yes.
And dairy, regardless, is not good. Like, it's not meant for people to drink.
Mm-hmm. And like you're partially correct about us being born with enzyme lactase. Yeah. And so what happens is that pretty much every mammal drinks their mother's milk. Like if you see, cats, dogs, like you see cows, they get under like the and like.
So
like,
is it irregular to drink another species' milk?
No, that's not it. It's that humans are like the only mammals in the world that are able to continue drinking milk after like a certain like adolescence.
Oh,
like
wow.
At least in cats, I'm pretty sure that I took this anthropology class, and they like showed studies.
Hey, before you go into this,
Mhm.
what are you studying? You're going to Western, right?
Yeah.
You're majoring in environmental sciences?
Yeah, environmental sciences, and then this just a few weeks ago I added a toxicology emphasis to it, just because I've like studied a lot of chemistry, and environmental science inherently requires you to like have a good base knowledge of chemistry and organic chemistry and just lab technique.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do toxicology just because it was part of the environmental science college, and just because it was going to allow me to keep practicing some lab stuff, and it also is directly related to this new job that I got that's at my university. through the.
What are you doing?
I just got a new lab assistant position back like I want to say like 5-6 weeks ago.
Congrats, bro.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Through the environmental health and safety department at
Through Western.
Western, and so that job is actually real like interesting and well I'm one of like this more like new students for sure. Like there was another person that started around the same time. But some of the people there that have already worked with my same position, they've been there since like they were sophomores. And like at first, when you're in your sophomore year, most people don't know what they want to study.
Yeah.
But our boss, who supervisor, his name is Gary. He studied biochemistry, and so I think it's influenced some of the other people. And for me, I was already like a senior when I got the job, and I had already had a different lab assistant position for the city of Bellingham.
Oh, so you had experience.
Yeah, and so I was like, I knew that I wanted to study environmental science already, but I already had like a lot of like just experience with chemistry, which is important for this job because our job is to collect chemical waste for different departments at the university. So like chemistry, biology, the environmental sciences, sometimes with engineering and psychology. Like for them, it's usually just like needles and like glass shards. Excuse me.
So being a Hispanic male,
Mm-hmm.
are you a minority in that kind of a major?
Yeah.
Environmental sciences. Do you see a lot of other Hispanics?
No, and it definitely reflects because at least at my job for sure, I'm the only Hispanic male, or just like Hispanic in general, and in my major, I usually only see maybe like one other Hispanic, and that's just me assuming that he might be Hispanic.
Yeah.
I sometimes I don't get a chance to like introduce myself. Because the other thing is that like yeah, they could be like my color and have a name that has some
resembles
some history in Hispanic or Latino, but they might not. But they might actually have grown up super American. Like,
my girlfriend, she's half Mexican, half white,
mm-hmm.
and she literally lives both cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally the white. Like I was listening to a podcast with Theo Vaughn and Brandon Moreno. He's a fighter in the UFC, but he's from Tijuana, and he was saying how in the Mexican culture, like they laugh more, and like when you reunite with your families, like it's a celebration. And he's saying how white people are like stoic and like they're stone cold, but she literally like her dad's side, it's always a fiesta, and then the white side is like, I don't even know, bro, just so segregated. Like you love each other, but it's like a surface love. It's not like a deep love.
Yeah, it definitely reflects because I feel like just in the culture of Latinos, like family is like super important, and you don't like see as much of like the whole like I have like a toxic family. It's just like for us or for like a lot of Latinos, it's mostly like, oh, we have our ups and downs, but like we get through because like we love each other.
Right.
And I do agree that there can be some toxic situations, but like if it's not like influencing your way of life and it's just like occasional with any relationship, then like you work through it and you still like family and like
for sure
love each other in the end. And anytime that you see each other after a long time, it's time to celebrate because
absolutely. That's why I feel like it's good to see both worlds, because regardless of how you embrace each other after like not seeing each other for a while, you should it's always a fiesta. Like regardless if you party or not, it's always good to see your family again.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, bro, but that's what kind of attracted me to my girlfriend, because the Mexican culture, my family never like cultivated each other. Like it's hard to describe, but like they have a lot of get-togethers like constantly. My family gets together one time a year, bro, and like we all live different parts of the United States, so it's hard sometimes, but it's really good to see family like take time to like get together.
Yeah.
Because some people are like, oh, I'm too busy. But dude, if you love your family and stuff, you can always make time.
Yeah, for sure. And that was actually kind of what led me to go to Western Washington University, was that it wasn't going to be like too far away from my family.
For sure.
Just because, you know, we both grew up here in Blaine, and my parents and like Rudy, my brother, he still lives in Blaine in Birch Bay area, so
yeah,
it gives me an opportunity to, like, you know, not be right next to them. Like, even now, like, I only see them maybe every couple weeks, and that's just because like I'm busy, and like they're busy, like, you know, they're working, and sometimes they work through the weekends too, and
that's also like the best of both worlds. But adding on to that, I think it's definitely good to have your own space and independence so you can grow as an individual. Because, like we were saying, like maybe there is some people in your family that are toxic, and you've been around that environment for so long. It's good to go out and not be like pulled down by other people's opinions and stuff, even if they're your family. Because sometimes I feel like your family is your biggest deterrent from accomplishing your goals. It's sad, but dude, it's true sometimes.
Yeah, it's just like, I remember back in high school, just because I grew up in a religious family, so like, well, like my senior quote especially was like, don't expect others to understand your grind because God didn't give them your vision, and that includes your family as well, because like, you know,
I got chill bumps, bro.
Yeah. And especially with family, because they want what's best for you most of the time, and they think that they know you, you know, better than anyone, but in reality, like, there are still parts of you that they don't know or understand. And so finding yourself through like isolation, and or just like, you know, going somewhere else definitely helps a lot.
Right.
And it helped me a lot, because like, from the beginning, I haven't lived with my parents since I was a senior in high school. Like, as soon as like I graduated, like I moved out, and it's been awesome. Like,
yeah, you do, bro. You're thrown into the real world, and you're forced to grow fast.
Yeah,
but you're forced to grow up regardless.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
Yeah, bro. And another thing I wanted to talk about too, actually, is actually it's kind of about my podcast, but I think we talked about it a little bit before. But I kind of want to base it around regular people, because you always hear podcasts with like multimillionaires, and like they're very credible, but like I can't relate to somebody who's like ridiculously rich. So it's really good to talk to just the average person.
Yeah,
you know, it's good to hear, because people can maybe relate, and yeah, I feel like it's more effective talking to your normal guy, your normal plumber or contractor.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Especially between you and I, you know, we've known each other for a long time, so like, there's been, and like we haven't like, you know, seen each other like constantly, but like we still keep in touch, and like we're like pretty close to each other. So if we did want to hang out more often, we could. But like, even that is just an example of like, you know, some distance, but still keeping up with each other. And then when it comes down to it, like, you can say that like, you know, they're a reliable person. They're, you know, you learn more about each other, and it helps with like these types of like conversations and situations where you get put in, where, you know, for this podcast is like a great thing that you're starting, and especially if you're basing it off of like, you know, just talking to like friends that you grew up with, or like, you know, maybe one day like you get into a situation where you meet a stranger and you become friends with them and bring them on here. That'll be another.
Definitely. Dude, I actually have in mind, there's a few people, they're interesting characters, but I want them on here. I've never talked to them, but I feel like it'd be such a cool experience just to like talk to somebody I know nothing about, and just like, it's a risk because maybe they don't like talk about the best things, but it might be really beneficial too.
Yeah, it definitely gives you at least with like your audience, for sure, because, you know, there's an audience that you're going to attract the most, but then when you're like the, you know, who you're having on your podcast, it varies. It helps with like attracting, you know, different perspectives. And
oh, for sure. And that's why I want, like, I don't want to be the guy talking all the time, because like people know what I'm about, I feel like, But I want audiences to be attracted towards my guest. Because I want so many different ideas and stuff on here. But back to environmental sciences.
Yeah.
Like, were you always passionate about it? Or, like, you always wanted to take care of the environment? Or were you grown into, like, a passion for it?
Yeah, so it definitely was shaped by many, like, factors throughout my life. Like, you know, with my family, like, like, we migrated over here from El Salvador. And so there's not a lot of background, at least with my parents, with, like, education. Like, I don't think either of them graduated high school, but they were able to, like, you know, be successful enough to help my brother and I and some of my other brothers graduate and, like, just have that be like a stepping stone into life. And with environmental science, at least for me, it, like, a reason why I chose it, and it was a late decision at the university. At first, I was totally, like, pretty hyped about, like, studying some sort of science, like biology or chemistry, or biochemistry, because I was really, really, like intrigued by medicine and, like, just, like, how the body worked. Because in high school, like, we went through some injuries, and that introduced us to, like, sports therapy and, like, sports medicine. And throughout in high school, at least, I did, like, quite a bit of sports medicine, and, like, one of the student trainers and stuff,
Yeah,
like,
I
taking
remember that.
people, like, helping them out with, like, stretching, guiding them to, like, another resource.
I remember your knee was always messed up, man.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it kind of sucked because, like, freshman year, it was like my right knee got hurt playing football and had to have surgery later that year. And then senior year, and then junior year, when we were wrestling, uh, Julian, like, it was his first time wrestling. You remember Julian?
Oh, yeah.
And
Little
he, like,
reckless.
and he was, like, just trying out new things, and he wrapped his leg around my right knee, the one that I had surgery on, and he, like, twisted me, and, like, it definitely, like, hurt something. Probably not something, like, extremely serious, but it, like, definitely kept me from being able to, like, perform at my best. Because I remember, like, at, like, regionals, which was at Blaine, like, every time I tried taking a shot, like, my knee would just, like, lock up, dude, and it sucked because it was, like, my planting knee where I pushed off.
That's the worst, when you have, like, a debilitating injury, because you're trying to get better, but you don't want to, like, throw away your season either. So
yeah, and it was literally, like, when I heard it, at least it was, like, maybe, like, 3 weeks before, like, postseason.
Oh man,
yeah,
that's horrible.
And then,
I don't even remember that, honestly. Yeah, back to environmental sciences and, like, the environment and stuff. We had a little conversation about these plastic bottles here.
Yeah, just before.
And you're not a fan, man? Like, littering's not good and stuff?
No, littering's not good at all. Well,
what's a good alternative for a plastic bottle?
Just, like, reusable.
You think everybody should have one?
I think, yeah, definitely, yeah. And it's not even just about the environment. It's just, like, emergencies, right? Like, during emergencies, like, you can rely on this to, like, not break or, like, melt in a fire. Like, you can, like, I mean, maybe the cap, but, like, the metal surrounding it is definitely, like, protecting, and it'd be good to have just, like, a spare one in your car at all times, like, during emergencies. But for me, at least, like, the plastic bottles, just because it's very hard to, like, recycle, because they're hard to clean, and then they're hard to disinfect after they've been used.
And they take forever to decompose, right?
Yeah, like 20,000 years.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Like, and on top of that, like, even if you do recycle, there's no certainty that the companies are trying their best to recycle, because of the cost-benefit analysis that they take on, plastic bottle, just throwing it out, not worrying about it, versus, like, having to clean it.
Yeah.
So, well, another thing is that, like, plastic bottles, like, plastic bottle, like, producers, they don't make water for you. They just make the plastic around it, and then like they might like put the water through some filters, or if anything, they might put something in the water that makes it taste a little better.
And also, yeah, for sure, those big companies, they compensate off of this. They don't compensate for the water. They compensate for this stupid plastic. But it's the biggest money waster, bro. You have people buying like $5 Fiji bottles when you can buy a gallon of water for like $2, or you can buy a reusable bottle and just keep refilling it.
Yeah, so with like what's in this water is filtered water, and it's just like with one of those like what are they called, like you know, Bistra, you know, they're kind of like they're pretty popular common filters that people put in like just dispensers.
Oh yeah.
Brita, that's what they're called, Brita filters. So my girlfriend, she bought like a pretty big, like I think it's like at least 1 gallon container, and you can like replace the filter, and you just do that like every like few months, maybe like every 4 or 5 months, and like the company is able to reuse the filter, like you recycle
that's
it,
nice.
or you can send it back to
You know, bro, this is gonna branch off of environmental sciences, but I'm talking for everything. We're at a brewery in where was it? Edison, like down next to Burlington, and this guy was talking about light bulbs and how Edison originally made light bulbs to last forever. Like there's some that are still burning that are like 200 years old, but they manufactured them purposely to break, so you keep rebuying them. And it's getting worse for everything, dude. Like vehicles and stuff, and like driving the propane trucks. The older trucks, they last forever because there's less parts, there's less electrical issues and stuff.
Yeah.
But they just keep adding on stuff, so you're forced to buy the new thing. It's just ridiculous. It's all a money grab, especially with Was I talking about war? Yeah, I think we were talking about war on the phone for a bit. But like how immature and just like small-minded this world is. Like we killing people over power, bro. Like
I know
it's 2022, man.
And it relates back to the environment with like they don't give a crap about like the aftermath and the pollution of like, you know, sending missiles, blowing up buildings.
Absolutely.
Like the
there's repercussions, dude.
Yeah, and it's one of the best like parts of this new emphasis on my major that I've added, the toxicology, is that you study the way toxic substances affect biological health in the environment. And that includes, and you probably have heard of this, pesticides, and herbicides. Let's see.
What are herbicides?
So herbicides are just like kind of like weed killers, right? Like atrazine.
Oh, like rat poison and shit they put in a Roundup?
Pesticide. Herbicide is just for plants or like, you know, weeds that you don't want, right? Like plants you want like
a solution they mix poison.
Yeah. Well, it's like a chemical that will most of the time it's effective in isolating the species that you want to kill off. Like it won't affect other species, but the thing is that it's like basically long-term poisoning of humans because
the herbicide.
Yeah, those pesticides, and then just like
herbicides.
Yeah,
like that's a long-term. Is bad for humans long term.
Yeah. So how it works is that a lot of these chemicals that are in pesticides, herbicides, heavy metals, they're persistent in the environment, and that is not good because that means
what do you mean? Like they linger around?
Yeah, they linger for a long time, and because a lot of the time, the reason why is because they're hydrophobic, meaning that like it's almost like trying to mix water and oil and like wanting the oil to disappear, right? Like it's just not gonna happen because the chemical properties just don't
break down.
Yeah, the water can't break it down.
Right.
And animals, right? Like whatever animal, I I don't think insects have, but most animals have
It
fat.
affects the ecosystem eventually, right?
Yeah, so because these chemicals, they build up in the fat of the animal, and after trophy, you have
If they eat some kind of herb or something and
yeah,
it has a
yeah.
herbicide in it. Okay.
Well, yeah. One thing is that it's not even like the plant that'll have it. It'll be a bacteria on the plant that'll have it, and then another fish eats the plant. A bigger fish eats the smaller
It
fish,
cycles through.
yeah, and it's called bioaccumulation, where as it goes from a smaller being to a bigger being, there's more potential for it to grow because there's more fat, and so
Man, that's
and then eventually it gets to humans, right? Because we're like the top, predators.
Yep.
Everywhere, anywhere, and we eat it, and it bioaccumulates in us, and you see it with like one at least for me, like it's fascinating for me to study it, but it's also scary because the more I learn, the more I get scared about just like daily life,
sure.
life stuff, dude. Like
I didn't
lifestyle.
I didn't even know that before, but yeah, even that I can build off of that, and like if that's a problem for humans down the road, like I can't even imagine about like nuclear weapons and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like
so
there's
radioactive, just like fallout and just radioactive poisoning is
horror.
Like we've seen it already with in Washington, dude. Like back in the 1940s or 1950s, there's this project called Hanford, which is on eastern Washington, and it was a company. It was a government funded site where they built a lot of nuclear weapons that till this day are still
in
somewhere.
Washington.
Yeah, it was in Washington.
Oh wow!
And like back then they had something called the dilution effect or dilution paradigm, where they were like, oh, as we put it out in the environment, it's gonna dilute, meaning that it's gonna get smaller and smaller and like break down eventually and disintegrate and like not be
that
active.
was their theory.
Yeah, but then you start seeing like just like the effects of DDT, DDE in like eggshell thinning, right? Like I don't know if you heard when we were in public school here blame, but I remember one time we were talking about like eagles, right? So eagles, they lay eggs, but sometimes the hatchling can't like survive because the calcium around the egg
isn't strong enough.
Yeah, and so it'll like just smush and it won't protect them at all, and like their parent might come and sit on top of them to give them warmth, and it just breaks.
So what's the lack of calcium in the eggs? Like,
so
how does that happen?
Is so DDT is a pesticide that they put out a lot. I'm pretty sure that it's banned in most of the world, but I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to double check that later. But DDT is a persistent chemical, and it's something called an endocrine disruptor. So the endocrine system is like what is in charge of metabolism and maintenance of your hormones. So that we were talking about testosterone and estrogen.
Yep.
So it can affect the estrogen and testosterone levels of the animal that ingests it. And then on top of that, it bioaccumulates in your fat.
How is it used? And I'm trying to break this down into a question that makes sense. But like how would the eagle eventually get it so it affects their reproductive system?
Yeah, so we mentioned so it starts off with the chemical being persistent in the environment. Then it goes then it gets released.
How would it be released into the environment?
So pesticides, they sprayed it on plants and stuff and like crops, and then it would seep into the soil and go through with groundwater.
So like any kind of farm where they harvest.
Yeah.
Wow, bro.
Yeah.
I actually on the Joe Rogan podcast, he was talking with Sand Guru.
Mm-hmm.
He was so enlightened. It was insane to like listen to him. But he's saying our biggest concern right now is actually soil and like the fertilization of soil and how soil is becoming less and less, and it's going to be harder to harvest crops.
Yeah.
Because we're destroying it.
Yeah.
We're destroying our soil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it sucks because like.
And is that because? I'm sure there's a lot of factors.
Yeah,
but...
so at least with that, I would imagine that it has to do with deharvesting because if you didn't know, um, roots they get put out. Trees put them out into the soil, and they have adhesive effects, meaning that so there's um, adsorption and then absorption, right? So absorption means that it goes into something, right? Adsorption means that it attaches to the outside. So like it attaches to the outside instead of going inside of this microphone, right? So soil and roots, they are able to like kind of have like friction and like grab onto each other. And so landslides, for example, like they can be caused by like deforesting because you take out a tree, takes out the roots, then that soil is just loose like sand, right? Like
Right.
you know how the ocean current and waves can just push sand like easy.
So when they deforest, the solidity and girth of that dirt and soil like dissipates.
Yeah.
So it becomes weaker.
Yeah, it becomes weaker, unstable, because it doesn't have anything that's holding it together.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy because it seems so obvious, but it's stuff people don't learn about, and I didn't know anything about that, or I didn't think about it.
Yeah. So that's like another thing you see with like the importance of like, harvesting obviously is essential. Like houses are built off of it, buildings, like firewood. So because some people are living just off a chimney.
What's the most important and effective thing people can do now, like starting today?
I would say that.
With obviously, like maybe not spreading around herbicides and pesticides and stuff like that. That's like pretty basic.
Yeah, that's almost like that's like a a big scale thing with like trying to like
preserve our environment.
Yeah, well, I was gonna compare it to like trying to fight against an oil company, right? Like it's you and like maybe a small group of people against some big, because like the producers of herbicides and pesticides are a big company.
Okay,
but on a small scale, where you can start is just like doing more research with the food that you eat, where you're getting your food. If you're able to cook at home, do it more, because first of all, like you'll be able to control, and the reason why I was interested in toxicology after I learned more about it was because of that. I told you in the past I was really interested in medicine.
Yeah.
So like toxicology is directly related to like how people use medicine, because it's poisoning. It's pretty much like the study of like how things can poison the environment or life. And so endocrine disruptors and persistent chemicals, they affect humans by being carcinogenic, meaning that they're cancer causing. They can be I think it's teratogenic, which means that they can affect your offspring. So like,
oh, wow.
You see sometimes like people come out like with like disabilities or like missing limbs. That can be caused by your diet. Like if, for example, let's say, just as an example, you're someone that lives on an island, right? Like maybe an Inuit village. You're gonna be eating a lot of wild game like bears, seals, maybe some birds, and those birds and like seals and those animals are gonna have those persistent chemicals in their fat, and you're gonna be eating them if that's like pretty much all you eat all the time for like entire generation, entire life. Like it'll eventually get to the level where it starts affecting you and your offspring.
So, say you do eat animals with this in their fat and stuff. Is it something you have to eat persistently over time for it to really affect you, or could you eat it like one time and break it down well enough for it not to affect you?
Yeah. So humans are really, really good, and most animals, are pretty good at they'll take in the chemical, but most of the time the chemicals are to a low enough low enough concentration where it doesn't have a like spontaneous like side effect, right?
So
Like
low enough concentration because um they didn't eat enough of those pesticides and stuff.
yeah, and because your body breaks it down. There's something called biotransformation with which is something that you learn in just like chemistry, biochemistry, or toxicology, where your body can biotransform chemicals into inactive forms so that it doesn't have the same effect or the same toxicity, meaning like the same like side effects that are negative.
Yeah.
And it does that in two ways, which is like phase one, it can hydrolyze and like pretty much add water to the compound, which makes it, more hydrophilic, which means that water can break it down, because
right.
most of us are made out of water, or like all of us are made out of water, but only like 70% of us, or 70% of our body is water. But that helps with breaking down the chemical because, like I said, it's persistent because it's hydrophobic, meaning that it doesn't like water. It doesn't get broken down by water, by rain. And
right.
then you also have with biotransformation, you have phase two mechanisms, which means like conjugation, where it transform the chemical into a bigger, like heavier compound that your body can just like release or eliminate completely. So that helps, and then also just like everyone um, has different tolerances to different things, right? So
right.
some people, they get shit faced off of just one beer sometimes. Yeah. And that has many factors, right? Like
Emily.
Age.
Just kidding, love you.
Age, your weight, your size, your genes. That's the same with these chemicals, dude. Like everyone's gonna they're gonna affect everyone differently, but there are studies that suggest that they can be carcinogenic after a certain point, and well, at least for us, it's been a long time since these chemicals have been released, and there's no doubt that there are concentrations of these chemicals
what do you mean
in everyone.
What do you mean released?
Released as in like we talked about pesticide as an example because they were released on crops, right?
Right, into the environment. So are these pesticides and stuff illegal now?
Yeah, a lot of them are illegal, but not everywhere.
Right.
And it's almost like if you don't know too much about like how radioactive fallout can work, it can be dispersed by like wind and stuff.
So it can go all over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these persistent chemicals within pesticides, like DDT is a big one that like after this podcast, like I'll show you some readings and like articles on it.
Yeah,
but DDT is super like well known in just like the environmental sciences because of its effects on on your endocrine system.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, you're teaching me a lot today, honestly.
I'm glad.
I love learning. That's awesome.
And like like I'm not definitely an expert, but like I'm just using like the knowledge that I've learned from experts and just from like my classes and like other mentors. And whenever you want to learn more, you let me know, and I can also help guide you to other resources that might have more insight on the matter.
That's the thing, dude. Like nowadays too, people choose what they want to listen to, and if you're able to access a bunch of different information and tap into a bunch of different outlets and sources that are credible and logical, especially nowadays, everything's so biased.
Yeah.
Do it. Like seek new information and like learn for yourself. Self education is so underrated.
Yeah.
Like you gotta learn, bro. Especially nowadays, there's so much fake information going out.
Mm-hmm.
So I never would have learned about this if I didn't have you on.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you had me on here because it's just like a way for me to spread awareness because like the other reason why I wanted to go into medicine was because I wanted to help, people and their health, and I knew that like I had the interest and the like I was intrigued enough to like be effective in it.
Right.
But this is just like another way of me helping out people, not directly through being like a surgeon, but like I can give you some information that is useful and it's based on like.
So let's keep talking about it,
Yeah.
But what other things can you kind of pinpoint or you learned about that are also harmful for the environment besides pesticides and herbicides? Like what are some
Pharmaceuticals,
Oh yeah.
personal care products like your toothpaste, your even
All the most profitable things in America, in the world.
yeah, pharmaceuticals,
Yeah.
especially because like some people, they take drugs and then you take a shit and then it goes into the water.
Oh right.
And it might not be like extremely bad, or depending on whatever you take, it might not be extremely bad, but it still can affect something along the way because it doesn't just get filtered just because you put it in the sewer. And that is something that like I learned, especially at my previous lab job where I was working at the wastewater treatment plant in Bellingham. And like there I learned about like the reason why we have to just like treat the wastewater. Like you have a lot of um, industrial and commercial zones, right? So like the Guide Meridian, big commercial zone, right? Like you see a bunch of stores, right? So those stores and industrial zones, meaning that like they're into or your family's company, industrial. It's industrial as in it produces some certain waste that isn't only human waste, right? Like human, just water plus some human waste or something.
So, in commercial areas, you think that it's the likeliness of it being like toxic or I'm trying to break this down. Good. You think it's more harmful in like bigger cities and stuff for waste to be distributed? And like
yeah, like definitely, dude. Like
harmful waste.
Well, so I think most places are pretty good at it, but like it varies. Like Bellingham is really really good. Like we won awards for like
Really
how good
Bellingham's getting bad though, dude. Maybe not for like maybe not for that kind of stuff, but like crime and stuff. I don't know if you've seen some. Oh, for sure, dude.
Yeah.
There's been so many more like break-ins and carjackings.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
It kind of sucks because it's
becoming a mini Seattle.
Yeah.
Like really, it's getting bad for crime. I don't even want to go downtown anymore. I feel like my car's gonna get destroyed or something.
Really? Damn.
Maybe I shouldn't be that fearful, but.
Well, I mean, at least for me, and I think we have talked about it in the past, like, the law of attractiveness, or the law of what was it? A law of attraction. Yeah, attraction. So, like, with me, I sometimes I can be, superstitious, but, like, karma is a big thing for me. It's like I feel like karma is definitely, like, something that drives my daily like decisions. Like, oh, I don't want to screw that person over and then have it come back to me, just like as a fate with fate, right?
Yeah.
And so like I've never experienced any of the stuff that like happens that like you were just describing in Bellingham. Like no one's ever broken into my car. I think one time back when I was a sophomore, someone egged like part of my car. But I think that they might have been trying to, like, they thought...
It was a joke.
No, they thought that my car was someone else's car.
Oh, I got you.
Because I can't think of anyone that, like, would want to do that to, like, my car just because, like, I was, like... it's not like I was, like... At the time, I was just talking... Or I just started dating my girlfriend, so there was, like... I wasn't, like... being a player and
like, into some bad stuff.
Yeah, and like I was a college student, so like that also is like if I do a stupid decision, like that might screw up like school, and I'm having like pretty much all of it paid for through like scholarships, so
that's fire.
There's a lot on the line if I do stupid stuff, but just like the daily decisions, like karma is like a big thing for me. It's like if I and I don't know if that's part of the law of attraction with like, I feel like if I screw someone, I'm attracting, I will attract that more
in the same way,
that type of energy. So that is another thing.
Literally, bro, your inner thoughts and how you go about your day and how your day ends up is all it all shines on like the manifestation of your thoughts and like how positively or negatively you think. And I always lean back to this because sometimes I'm having a shitty day and I do get lost in the sauce, bro. And I have a negative thought, and then like another bad thing happens, and like now I'm pissed, and it just manifests into a horrible day when it so easily could have just been the other way.
Yeah.
There's always solutions.
Yeah.
And talking about inner cities again, I don't know. I kind of feel guilty for this. Not really. Well, kind of. I'm sure people do too. But when you see a homeless guy on the corner, bro, begging for money, I don't know why, but I feel shame. Like, I don't want to make eye contact because I'm like, why did you put me in this position? Because, I don't know, I can't just give everybody money on the corner, you know?
Yeah.
And I just feel bad that they put me in the position to, like, seem like a douchebag for not giving them money.
Yeah.
But it's like, bro, why are you here right now, bro? Everyone's hiring. Like,
nah, my girlfriend and I have similar conversations. And for me, recently I've forgotten to carry around cash, and so like there's no way for me to like even if I did want to.
Yeah.
It's like cash is the other things that I haven't been carrying it as much just because everything's so easily like
digital transactions. Mm-hmm. I'm the same way, dude. I don't.
Plus, I don't spend a lot of money that requires cash. Like,
right.
The only things that I pay with like cash or places that require cash. Like my girlfriend and I like going and get ice cream at Mallard's, downtown.
Oh yeah.
They require cash.
Yeah.
Or like sometimes in the past, the bud store.
Oh, for sure. Hey, so I'm actually gonna wrap this up because I gotta go to the bathroom. But thank you so much for coming on, dude.
Yeah, no problem, bro.
And can you say the Lost Boys in Spanish?
Lost Boys.
Yeah. The Lost Boy.
Yeah, the Lost Boy. What is it?
You can't speak Spanish. We'll cut it there.
No. I can, but there's a lot of translation. So, for boy. So, how do you want it to be like niño? Because niño is like 5 to like 10-year-old. But then
no, bro. I want hombre.
Okay.
Right?
Well, that means man.
Oh yeah.
So
that's what I am.
So el hombre perdido.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.